Peace, love, Nour Nation. We are here. We're getting it in. We're getting to it. Sending nothing but positive vibes. I'm out here with Mother Nature. You hear the crickets? They're excited. They love us too. I know, they love us too. I'm sitting here, man, getting in tune with nature. Barefoot in the grass. Got my family over here. And we're just enjoying life. And enjoying what the divine has given us. I got people out here, you know, taking pictures with their loved ones. We got people laying on the grass and with blankets, just enjoying one another. And we got people walking and exercising, taking care of their physical, taking care of their bodies. And this is what harmony is about. This is what it's all about. Today, I wanted to take time to talk about one of the biggest secrets of this universe, where many people ask about and many people talk about, but they don't have a lot of knowledge or information about these beings, and that is the Annunaki. Had a lot of people come to me and ask me about the Annunaki, and I have seen plenty of questions asked over the internet about the story of the Annunaki. Now, there's quite a few people out there, a few authors that have. Zechariah Sitchin is a great one. Malachi Z. York has. Obviously, you have to be a little bit, you know, on the eclectic side, and definitely the imaginative side to read some of that information from him. But at the same time, there's a lot of truth in everything. And so what we must remember is that everything that our imagination can fathom is reality. Sheesh. Let's get into it. So the Annunaki, back in ancient Kemet, ancient Egyptian times, in the Sumerian text, they stated that there were extraterrestrial beings that actually came from the heavens down to the earth and ruled it, to say the least. The story is back on the planet of Nibiru, which is where the Anunnaki actually came from. Now, this planet, also known as Planet X, astrologers have named it quite a few different names, but the planet itself is actually what Anunnaki call a ship. They were able to control somewhat this planet and the route that it took once you actually were flying the planetary infrastructure. Now, on one of the missions, they were not planning to come to Earth. They were actually looking on a mission looking for gold. They had a huge fight. The Anunnaki had a huge fight and war going on from the Luciferians, which hence where you get the name Lucifer, on their planet. The planet of Nibiru has 3 suns. And I mean like the revolving sun, like the sun that we have. Instead of having 1, they have 3. So of course I guess the gnat likes us too. Of course the rays and the amount of radiation that comes from 3 suns versus 1 sun is astronomical. Now, during this war on the planet of Nibiru, a lot of weapons were being used that were causing destruction to their ozone. It ended up putting a massive hole in their ozone and actually causing the rays from the 3 suns to give radiation onto these beings and kill a lot of these extraterrestrial beings. So instead of letting their planet die and without doing anything, they decided to take action and go find what they needed in order to protect their atmosphere, to save their planet, and also save their people. So there were quite a few that had actually decided to take action, and they went on a mission throughout the universe to find gold. Gold is a very precious metal, but not only is it a very precious metal, it also is able to refract and reflect light, and it is not penetrable by the rays, the UV rays that the suns give off. So it actually would help protect their atmosphere. Now, they were able to calculate their particular paths by, one, a higher understanding of us as far as the universe, and exactly how gravity and the winds work in the universe as they travel in order to get where they need to in a timely fashion. The problem was they actually, whoever was calculating these paths miscalculated. And there was a huge gravitational pull from another planet that actually caused it to get off of course. Once off course, they lost control and got caught up in the Earth's gravitational pull. Now, back in these times, Earth was actually much bigger, and it was not called Earth, it was called Tiamat. It was about 3 times the size of Earth, and obviously the bigger the planetary being, that's going to be the stronger, it's going to be a stronger gravitational pull. Now, as the planet of Nibiru got caught into our gravitational pull, it actually was swung into our direction and actually went right into the planet of Tiamat. As a result, it ended up actually breaking off many pieces of the planet of Tiamat, leaving the Tiamat damaged and in a state of needing to be healed. Now, like any other living being, because planets are living beings as well, they were able to, over time, heal themselves just like human beings. The pieces that actually were knocked off of the planet of Tiamat is now what you call the moon. And also a lot of the pieces that were left formed the asteroid belt that we have in our galaxy as well. Over time, of course, the Earth was able to heal itself, and the moon found its place, and the asteroid belt found its place as well. But what happened during this time is that not only did the planets collide and cause major damage to both, it also hurt a lot of people on the planet Nibiru, resulting in them actually getting thrown down to Earth. So naturally, when you get thrown down to a new planet in a new area, you have to find a way to make do with what you have, being that their planet was also, or their ship was also damaged and needed work. Over time, many of the planetary beings, the Annunaki, began to live on the planet Earth. They left, of course, quite a few on the planet of Nibiru in order to fix and help that planet and helping that planet heal. One of the flies around me. One of the biggest of them all were 2 beings named Enki and Enlil. They were brothers. Their father was the Lord of Nibiru, the Lord of the Anunnaki, whose name is Anu. Anu sent Enki and Enlil down to Earth to rule over the people and to find any gold that may be on Earth. Lo and behold, to their surprise, there was plenty of gold, and Anu was highly satisfied. What they began to do is they began to get the rest of the Annunaki to mine gold out of the Earth and send the gold up to the planet of Nibiru in order to store it. Over decades and centuries, they mined and mined and mined these gold mines, collecting gold. But over time, the Annunaki people were tired. They can obviously live longer than your average human being, so you can imagine people that are able to live hundreds of years, beings that are able to live hundreds of years, constantly slaving their lives away in order to save their planet. So after quite a bit of time, they began to rebel, and Enlil and Enki had actually decided that it may be best to use the beings that were currently on the earth when they got there, which were the prehistoric beings, which is very similar to us, which was the Homo erectus, and use them in order to enslave and have them take out the works of mining the gold. However, the only thing about the Homo erectus is that they were not as intelligent or as advanced as they needed them to be. So the thought was they should get a Homo erectus and also Annunaki genes, and to graft and chemically and genetically build their own beings. Over a long period of time of constant changing and genetical engineering of grafting these beings, they came up with the Homo sapien. After they created the Homo sapiens, they actually they set up a city or town for them, and actually taught them civilization, how to be civilized. They taught them mathematics. They taught them psychology. They taught them chemistry. The word chemistry, the chem part, actually comes from Kemet, ancient Kemet, the land of Chem, which means the land of blacks. Obviously, race doesn't really matter in the middle of it, because it doesn't matter at all. That was just the origin of the name. But chemistry was exactly what it is. It was the black sciences, as far as what the word actually means. Now, once they were of age and they were able to, and they were civilized, they put them in the mines, and they got them and enslaved the Homo sapiens to actually mine the gold for them. Now, over time, this began to be the lifestyle of the Homo erectus, of the human beings, which is why today you realize we live in that work mentality, because it was something that was actually taught from us. This was a program that was given to us over time. And I know it sounds crazy, and it sounds crazy to anybody in the beginning, and it sounded crazy to me in the beginning as well, but if you think about it and you actually use the mind that we have to comprehend and apprehend exactly what we're here for, it's hard to digest that it could actually be possible that we were created by extraterrestrial beings in order to be slaves, to say the least. But it does make a lot of sense. Over time, in our history, it was interesting how we did extreme jumps in advancements in technology, in understanding, in psychology, in chemistry. You know, how is that possible? I mean, just the Homo erectus going into being a Homo sapien was a huge transformation. How can that possibly happen? It's interesting. It ends up putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, over time, we did what we did, and the gold was mined out, and they were pleased. We didn't know any better to even be upset about it. Now, the Bible speaks of the Nephilims, which is also the Annunaki, because during that period of time, after creating and grafting the Homo sapiens, the Anunnaki found the Homo sapien woman to be beautiful. And so they actually began to sleep with them and mate. The beings that were created from the Anunnaki and the Homo sapien were actually revered in ancient times as pharaohs and kings because they were of royal blood. Obviously, they weren't as advanced as the Anunnaki, but they definitely had a lot of the blood in them and the intellect and knowledge and the heightened consciousness that the Anunnaki had. This is also where you got the stories of your gods. You know, the Anunnaki in Greek mythology were revered as gods. That's where you get your Isis, that's where you get your Horus, you know, that's Egyptian mythology. You get your Zeus, you know, that's Greek mythology. You know, these beings, these myths are no myths. These are now made as unrealistic, but during those times they were as real as you and I. Now, over time, what most don't understand is when you are of a higher consciousness, and I can get into this in another one of our videos, when you have a certain amount of extra chromosomes, you're able to tap into more higher levels of consciousness and tap into different dimensions at an easier rate than somebody with less chromosomes, like 42 chromosomes versus 46 chromosomes. Also, when you have higher consciousness, you manifest in a physical form that is much larger than life as we know it. People think that the statues and the buildings that these people built were astronomical because of imagination, when in actuality it was not. The statues that you have of these beings at this time, they were so huge, and as far as the statues are concerned, because that's the exact size that they were when they were walking this earth. They were 50 feet tall, 60 feet tall, and they reigned over the Homo sapiens on this earth. And also the children of the Anunnaki with the Homo sapiens were quite larger and quite taller than your average Homo sapien. Not as big as Anunnaki, but obviously they were bigger because they were, you know, half gods, half humans, if you want to put it into that term. So they were revered in that way as well. What we have to understand is that the Anunnaki shapeshifted and created the society that we live in today. They did get the gold that they needed, and the planet still actually comes into our atmosphere. I forgot the amount of times per 20 years. But if you check the NASA websites, they actually talk about Planet X and how and when it actually comes into our atmosphere and into our galaxy. So it has its own revolution as far as how it moves through the universe. But it still comes and it still does its thing, and we now know it exists. You know, before these were just stories. Now we actually have physical evidence of the planet itself. The Anunnaki created this society that we're in. The programs that are running this earth and this society was all planned. And the plan was set up so we actually didn't need them around to still be controlled. Sheesh. Let's get into it. Being able to control remotely when not being around is the greatest power of them all. To control another without even touching them. And obviously it takes a more advanced being to come up with a plan like that and actually help it run its course throughout the amount of years that it has. Now this also will make more sense to you now because of all the amazing structures we have around the earth. You have the pyramids of Giza, you have Stonehenge. You know, these structures were mathematically sound, geometrically sound, to the point where even the humans, and most intelligent scientists today, still can't quite comprehend how it actually is possible to have built these structures. The Pyramid of Giza, the Sphinx, these particular structures were created in a time where the equipment that we use now today didn't exist. Not only that, science has proven that the Pyramid of Giza was actually built from top to bottom. Sheesh. Let's get into it. How is that possible? Unless the structure itself was built, one, by a being much larger and more advanced in intellect and knowledge than the average Homo sapien. Two, he was able, or she was able, to create this structure not only in this dimension but also from another dimension. Say the dimension of thought, the mental plane, and manifesting it into a physical plane. That would actually put things together and put it in perspective for us. That is some of the story of the Annunaki. Obviously, the story is quite long. Don't need to go through all of it, but now you guys have a higher understanding and insight on who the Annunaki are, and also how they affect us in society today. Nour Nation, we're in the wilderness, we're in nature, we're enjoying life, we're conscious, we're healthy, and we're grateful. Peace, love, divine wisdom, divine knowledge.